Welcome, everyone. We have a very full schedule, and we'll try to get through it as quickly as we can, because I know you've all had a long day. But we wanted to make sure you had the information that you need as you're completing your internship. And we also wanted to address any questions that you had concerning the program. So I will introduce all of our speakers, and then we will get started, and we'll try to stick with the schedule that we have so that we can get you out of here in a short period of time. The first, I do have an announcement, CAS workshops. You guys have been wonderful in attending, arriving on time, and the feedback CAS has received has been really good. So we found those workshops very, very useful. There are still 2 remaining workshops in April. And one is here in this very room on April the 10th from 4 to 7:30. And there is the one out in Cheshire at CAS on April the 25th. So there are 2 remaining ones, and I look forward to seeing you at those workshops. I have the CAS workshop certificates, and I will give them to your professors, and they will distribute them to you. And they're very nice. It shows that you attended the workshop, and probably framed it if you like. We'll have remarks, and I'll introduce everyone so I don't have to keep coming up and saying who the speaker is. Our first speaker will be our esteemed department chair, Dr. Catherine Magno, and she'll be speaking to you for just a few minutes. And then we have Susan Tiso, our TK20 administrator, who has been with us for a long time, and she knows everything there is about TK20, and she's very patient. And I've asked her to come to answer your questions and give you a general overview of what needs to be uploaded and how. I've asked our certification officer, Mr. Ken Bunjard, and Ken is the person who signs off on certification for the state, and he's going to walk you through the procedure and answer any questions that you might have. And then, of course, our esteemed program, everything, Dr. Peter Madonia, who we all know, and he's going to walk you through the process of what's needed towards the end of this process, as well as answer any questions that you might have. He was out in the field and he rushed back just so he could be here. Thank you very much. And last but not least, there's here she is, Dr. Arafay. First of all, we appreciate Dr. Arafay because she is taping this meeting, and we appreciate you taking the time to tape this. And she also will be giving you some insight about the community service and projects that she has had, and to give you some good ideas. So that's our schedule, and without any further ado, I'd like to turn you over to Dr. Magno, our department chair.
So welcome, thank you all for coming tonight. We wanted to hold this session to bring everyone together so you get consistent messages about what is coming up for you in the next couple of months, and especially around certification. And normally when I make remarks like this, I have like 3 main points, but you'll be happy to know I have just 1 tonight. So other than saying what I just said, I just wanted to encourage you that to make the most of the rest of your internship. I think at this point in the internship, well, let me say that when you first came in the fall, you were probably a little bit worried. How am I going to get the 200 hours? How is this all going to work? How am I going to work with my mentor? What if I can't do X, Y, or Z? And hopefully at this point, you've racked up a number of hours. You've had a lot of experience practicing some of the putting into practice some of the theories and the concepts you've been reading about for the past couple of years. And this is your big chance to really take take chances, take risks, and work within your school to do some of the things that you'd like to try before you're actually in one of those positions where, well, you might be held accountable for the results in a different way than you are now. So I would encourage you to fill those other hours, those remaining hours, with all the gaps, with the things that you haven't been able to do yet. Really make the most of the next couple of months. If you're having any issues, any troubles, of course your supervisors are there to answer your questions, and if you ever need anything from me, please let me know. But I know you're in very good hands with your mentors and supervisors, and of course Dr. McDaniels as the coordinator. So good luck with the rest of it, and carry on, and we look forward to hearing about the end and seeing your portfolios. Okay, so thank you. Susan.
Yeah, I'm going to work this in the center.
Okay.
How about, can you hear me?
Actually, I need you for the recording to actually use the microphone.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Susan Tizo. I am the unit administrator for TK20, and I've been asked to just sort of walk you through what hopefully you will be doing this semester. I imagine that most of you have already logged on. I think probably the best thing to do is to start with the help resources. If you get stuck, please don't spend a lot of time spinning wheels. I'm available quite often. I check emails over the weekends. I know that that's when a lot of you are actually doing your work. The best email to use is tk20support@southernct.edu. So yeah, the best thing to do is the tk20support@southernct.edu. If you're feeling really desperate, you can try me at Tiso, TISOS1@southernct.edu. And also, just to let you know that if you go on Southern's website, you can search TK20. And I have quite a lot of quick guides that are already up there. There's a little bit of general information, but under the student quick guide section, if you open that, you can see that all of these are there. One that I just put up specifically for EDL 688 because you have multiple documents that you need to upload to one assignment. It's sort of another quick guide there. I don't know what all these messages are, but there it is. And then you can always copy them and print them out, and then you'll have them there. There's also other quick guides if you get really stuck. Another quick point, I'm going to use Internet Explorer, but sometimes it's not the best browser to use with TK20. It kind of prefers Chrome, or if you don't have Chrome, Mozilla. When I opened it with Mozilla, it told us that we were unsecure, so I thought I'd go with Internet Explorer. The easiest way to find the site is just southernct.tk20.com. If you don't have your username and your password, or you have forgotten it, please let me know. I've created sort of a test student for us to take a look at. Usually the first thing you'll see when you get to your home page is that you should be able to see in the middle section the pending tasks, that you have pending tasks. please send the program completers, the EDL professional dispositions, the EDL 688 internship portfolio, and any other assignments that you have in TK20. Another shortcut that I like to use, because there's always more than one way to do things, if you open your courses tab, and then in the left side menu, under coursework is the assignments. If you open that up, you're going to get a complete list of all the assignments that you've ever received in TK20. This works also a bit like a file room, so you can create folders on the left, so if you want to get rid of some of this, you don't want to see all the red flags, that's there. So what I've done is created at leadership. So I think, right, is this all 688 or we have more?
No, just 688.
Oh, good. Love it. So right now, this is probably what you will see. You'll see the professional dispositions assessment, program completers form, and then the internship exit portfolio. The dispositions, again, there's a quick guide for this on the website. If you would really like to have a printed copy of it, you can do that. What you need to do for the professional dispositions is actually read the document that you will be scored on. You'll then simply attach an electronic signature where you just check the box, put your date, and you're done. What that does is it just sort of allows us to know that you've read exactly what it is that you're being scored on. So to read the document, you just need to open the link. It will come up on a separate page. And this is what it looks like. And you may have done this already for other courses. There's no change for this course. So once you've read that document, you can close the page. You go to the Artifact Wizard. You want to create a new document. And again, these are all steps are all written out for you. The type that you want is just a student signature for your professional dispositions. You select it. Just simply says that by checking this box and providing my electronic signature, you choose the date. The easiest thing to do is click on the date box and just hit today. And then you should always have the option of either saving your work or submitting your work, or just getting rid of it completely at the bottom of the page. If you're not ready to submit, you just save, but we would be ready to submit. Yes. And that's really all you have to do for the professional dispositions. Oh, now you have no flag, and if you look at the status, it says that it's pending. Program completers form is another pre-configured form that we ask you to fill out. It shouldn't take you it should not take you more than 5 minutes. It's simply asking you, if I can do this, you go to your wizard, we want a new artifact, and I think actually before I send it out, you choose the program completers form, hit select, and then all it's asking you to do is provide the certification that you're going after. We like to try and capture a non-Southern email because a lot of people don't look at their Southern emails once they're gone. And then it asks you about your professional organizations, and that really is it. The biggest assignment that you'll have is the internship. Sorry. I can probably do this now. Okay, good. When you open up the assignment, there's a little description of what they've asked you to upload to this document. I think at this point you're being asked to upload 5 different documents. Again, to upload, you want to go to the Artifact Wizard. Now, if you have documents that are already up there that you've already stored in your artifacts room, you can pull them down now too. This is where you're given the option that you want to create a new artifact, which simply means you're uploading from your own files, or do you want to access one that you've already filed and stored in your TK20 account. So I'm going to assume that we have nothing there. And we're going to continue. The file type, select type is file. You're going to be uploading a file. You then browse, and I have no idea what's on here. So I can pick that. So you just click on the one that you want. Now, if you have more than one that you want to attach, this is where you do it. You can do it right here, right to the right. You can see the one that we've just chosen. The one to the right, you click another file, and you'll see it upload the one that you've just picked. And then you can see the title of it down there. And then you would just click on this. Again, we browse. I'm just going to get out of it because but that's really all you need to do, is just keep clicking that button and uploading. If you want to do a few at a time and just save and go back later, you can do that. There are other ways to do this. If you want to know other ways how to use the artifact group, the artifacts tab really acts like a little storage space for you. It automatically saves anything that you uploaded. But because TK20 is accessible anywhere that you have internet connection, you can also then kind of use this as a little storage file. You'll know that you'll always have access to it wherever you have an internet access. And that notes. Are there any questions?
What if somebody is really, you use the help guide and you are at your wit's end, what should you do?
Email me. Email TK20 support or TZOS1 if you're really desperate. You can try my phone. Sometimes I answer it. It's the extension here at school is 26544, so that would be 392-6544.
One question.
Is TK20 a state of Connecticut requirement?
No, it's a southern.
The question was, is TK20 a state of Connecticut requirement? So no is the Southern. What we'll do is we'll have Susan repeat the question.
That's 203 area code?
Oh, yes, 203. It's here in Southern.
So TK20, if I understood when I originally accessed it, I had access to it for 10 years because I had to pay. So as long as I'm within that 10 years, I'm fine. If I fall out of that 10 years, what do I have to do?
Repay?
So you repay, we would go through you.
No, you go through the TK20 site.
Okay.
The question was, when you purchase your accounts, they're good for 10 years. So what happens after 10 years is if you want to continue to access your data that you've stored in there, you would probably have to purchase another TK20 account. You might actually want to call TK20 and see if you can negotiate something if you only need it for another year after your 10-year period. I would definitely suggest doing that rather than buying a 10-year.
Here's a question.
This is the first I'm hearing of TK20 in relationship to our internship. So what's expected of us in terms of TK20 for the internship? This is troubleshooting, but what do we actually have to use TK20 for?
The assignments that I showed you,
And that's it?
that's it.
So whatever is in there under 688 is what we have to do?
What you're going to do is you're going to go to assignments, and you'll see the list on the right side. I've put them in a folder for tonight, but you'll should see them when you open that. And as far as I know, those are the 3 assignments that are required for EDL 688.
Okay.
Also, all of that information is in the handbook about the TK20 requirement, and then there'll be more guidance as well in terms of, more specifics about what should be uploaded. But Susan's right.
Okay, thank you.
Under the assignments that are listed there, the first one is for the professional dispositions. Many of the interns did the professional dispositions for 687. Is this the same requirement?
Exact same. Yes, but you need to sign off on it again so that the new instructor can actually score it.
And that's in terms of the professional dispositions assessment here, that you did it once in 687, and you'll do it again in 688.
I know that
one of the things was there were 5 assignments that needed to be uploaded for the internship. And you showed us the option to save. For some of us, if we wanted to, while things are fresh and we knew that we had some of our assignments done, we'd be able to start putting them, uploading them, and just not submit. Yes.
So the question is, if we have assignments while they're fresh and in our mind, can we just go ahead and upload them and save them, but not submit them?
Yes, all of you should now be able to see, if you go into your TK20 accounts, you should all be able to see all 3 assignments. Made sure that they were all sent out today. So they should be there, you can start opening them, you can start saving. You really only hit that submit button when you're done. As soon as you hit submit, it goes right to your instructor's account.
And I noticed when you were doing the demonstration, I noticed 5/10 as the due date. Do we have a certain date that this should be completed by?
I'm always calling Susan because I often have my students submit later on. So the 5/10 deadline date is the date that's there. Maybe some of you will be submitting a little later than that. We'll negotiate maybe if we can extend that deadline, but you just need to submit this work. And even if it says late on TK20, that's not particularly an issue.
Okay.
Okay? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but May 10th is the official last day of the semester, so that's why it was chosen.
Are we, just looking at some of the things that are on there, are we supposed to scan and upload things that we don't just have that we typed into a Word document?
Yeah, we'll talk about that, about what potentially goes up into TK20 as we talk about the rest of the portfolio. So yes, some things you would do that, some things you may not. So the question was, do we need to scan and upload things that we haven't typed into Word documents? Yes.
You just said that the due date was for the 10th. Who makes the decision if there's an extension? Who notifies us? How will we be notified if there's a change?
That's me. I think that we all want our work in by the end of the semester. But it would be something that you would be negotiating with your supervisor if it needs to go beyond the 10th. And it would be something that you wouldn't know. I mean, you would do it because you need an extension.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kevin. Whoa, that's late. I'm going to kind of school it. I'm going to talk tonight about the certification application process. Is there anybody in here who's not interested in applying for state certification? Because you can leave now if you want. No, I didn't think so. Sorry, Peter. Don't go there. Okay. I know most of you have already applied for certification in one area or another, right? Because you're all in this room, and you're all certified teachers, right? Or school service providers, right? So you're somewhat familiar with the process. How many of you are certified in another state? We've got a number. Okay. My orientation that I normally provide takes about an hour, so somebody keep an eye on the clock because they've given me a half hour, so I've got to condense this. So keep me honest, okay? I'm going to just talk briefly about out of state and the process. Since the process, most of you are probably at the stage where, although the data tells us that you do travel, and that most of you are going to be portable and mobile, and the likelihood of you staying in Connecticut is probably, at this stage in your career, probably about 50-50, or more like 60-40. So the interest in affordability is pretty high. There is an interstate agreement Not all states participate in the interstate agreement for out-of-state reciprocity. The term reciprocity is a layperson's term. It is not a state official term. The term that's used by states is interstate agreement. And if you've already experienced moving across state lines, you've probably already experienced that. But the requirements are generally the same, whether a state has officially used the interstate agreement or not. But most states for teaching, almost all states participate in the interstate agreement. But for advanced certification, such as what ed administration is, building level administration, or district level administration, advanced certification, there are fewer states. There are probably less than 20 states, or around 20 states, that participate officially in the interstate agreement. So it's a little more difficult to get certification portability across state lines for administration, simply because of the differences in requirements for an administration. Generally, most states require that you also hold a teaching certificate in the state in which you want to hold an administrator certificate. And the years of teaching experience vary. In Connecticut, you have to have how many years of teaching experience? 5. Many states only require 3. So there's variability in the number of years of teaching experience. So that's one of the other reasons. But generally, the requirements are the same. Most states only require a master's degree to get an administration certificate. Connecticut exceeds that requirement. They require 18 to 21 hours above a master's to get certified as a building level administrator. Some states require a specialist degree, or what we refer to in Connecticut as a 6-year certificate. So there are some differences, and that's why most states don't participate in the interstate agreement. So as you move from state to state, keep those things in mind. But generally, the requirements in terms of the documentation are the same. You fill out an application, you pay a fee, you submit all of your transcripts, you provide a copy of your currently valid certificate, and again, I would recommend, I strongly recommend as a professional, and I've worked as a director of state licensing in 2 states and worked in a staff in a 3rd state, is you never let your license expire. You are always at an advantage when you have a currently valid certificate or a license. Don't let it expire, okay? When you try to cross, there's no such thing as an expired certificate. You don't hold a certificate if it's expired, and you're always at a disadvantage, okay? Whether it's your home state, since you're completing your approved program in Connecticut, Connecticut is your home state. So any state will always come back and ask Connecticut, and will ask you to verify the completion of your approved program, and they'll ask if you're eligible for certification in your home state. Or were you eligible for certification in your home state at the time you completed your program? Were you issued a certificate in your home state? Those are questions, the common questions that states ask. So you want to make sure that if nothing else, you get your Connecticut certificate and try and keep it valid. Unless you move to another state and are issued a certificate, then keep that valid. Always hold a currently valid certificate. Okay? Now, for Connecticut. Look at is there anybody that didn't get the document packet? You all raise your hand and we'll see that you get one. Okay? Now, there are 2 parts to this packet. This is the School of Education packet. You also have a department, your Education Leadership packet, which is available to you on the Education Leadership website. Okay? Which you will also need in addition to this one. Okay? And I believe they're working on modifying that packet, and I don't know when they'll make that available. But there is a packet that you'll also need to fill out. And you will submit both packets to the Education Leadership Department. And then the Leadership Department will submit the packet to my office. Okay? Now, if you take a look at the checklist and the checklist directions, in the past, My office does not, and currently, we do not accept an incomplete packet. If there is anything missing, the packet gets returned to you. The Ed Leadership Department does some screening, but they don't do a complete screening. And so if a packet is submitted to me and it's incomplete, the whole packet gets sent back to you, and we will tell you what's missing. Okay? And what I'm going to try to do today is give you an idea of some of the common data, common information as to why packets get returned. Okay? But if you follow the directions of the checklist direction sheet, you should be okay. But there are some misunderstandings and some things that go wrong, especially in the area of Ed Leadership. Now, this is the first time we've done an orientation for Ed Leadership, so hopefully we can cut off a lot of the errors and a lot of the reasons packets go back. The checklist. The first one is at the bottom of the form, you will see a form date, 10/13/14. If you have a form that has a date late, if you lose this form, you can download it on our website. And I'll show you our website in a minute. You're kidding. 10/24/12. Okay, now we got a problem right there. All right. I just had my new assistant print off 140 of these as the new form. Somehow that got wrong. How many of you have the old form? All of you.
I have the new one. I have the new one.
Okay, well, let's go through this to see if there's a difference. I hope if there's a difference, then I've got it wrong. Okay? All right, your name, student ID. Graduate students are notorious for not knowing their student ID. If you don't know your student ID and it's not on this form, you're automatically getting it back. Because that's how we access your record, is with your student ID. Okay? And many students do not put their student ID down. I won't ask you how many of you in here don't know your student ID number. Okay? Okay? And many students, for some reason, grad students don't know their student ID. Your social security number. As you know, the state issues your certificate based on your social security number. And in any state, you can't get certified without a social security number. Your date of birth, that's the other triangulation of ID. Although here at Southern, we access your information based on your student ID, regardless of what your name is, how you put your name on here. You want to put your name down as you want it to appear on your certificate. Okay? As you want it to appear on your certificate. Same with your 170A application. Who's your academic advisor in your academic program, in your Ed Leadership program? Certification you are seeking intermediate administration, intermediate supervision certification. Unless there's a superintendent, district level administrator in here. Okay, have you completed an advanced degree at an institution other than Southern? That's a master's level degree. If the answer is yes, you mark yes and you put down the institution where you got your advanced degree. If you got your advanced degree here at Southern, you answer no to that question and leave it alone from there. Okay? Question?
That's one of the things that's different on the form.
That's one of the, okay. The reason for that is because if you got your degree somewhere else, Southern doesn't record where you got your master's degree on their transcript. And so when your paperwork comes to me, I have no record of your advanced degree. And when it's forwarded on to the state, if the state doesn't have a record of your master's degree, and a master's degree is a requirement for your certification. And if the state comes back to me and for some reason you didn't follow directions and provide official transcripts of all of your colleges to the state's going to call me and ask, where did you get your master's degree? And I'm going to look at your record and I won't be able to tell them. Which, one, is embarrassing to me, and two, it's a hole in the information. Okay? So I need to know. We will provide new forms. Okay? I will get you new forms. All right? The next question is, Does your program require the confirmation of a degree for program completion? For all of you, the answer to that question is no. Your 6th-year certificate is not a requirement for your certification. And here's where many Ed leadership students make an error. And they do this for two reasons. One, they think they have to wait to apply for their certification until they get their 6th-year certificate. Okay? And two is that sometimes that 6-year certificate takes them more than a year after they've completed their 21 hours of their Ed leadership program, which causes another problem, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It could cause a problem. Okay? I need a phone number, because if you have a problem and I need to reach you, or if the state has a problem and they call me and then I need to reach you, and you're trying to get your certificate, because many of you have got jobs pending on these things, then I need a number that you're not abandoning or ignoring, okay? So make sure that that phone number is a number that you're paying attention to. I am currently completing my final semester of my certification program coursework, including my internship. Your internship, your 688. If you are applying during the semester that you are completing your 688, then you answer yes to that question. If you are applying in some semester after you've completed your 688, then you answer no to that question. And then you put down what semester you did complete your internship in the year in which you completed that. Because that's the semester you generally finish your program. Because 688 should be your final course. It's the final course of the 21 hours of your program. So if you've taken them all in order, that should be the end of your 21-hour program. You need to check to make sure that your scores are recorded in Banner. You know how to do that. You go on, you know how to check your unofficial transcripts? All right, you go to the same place and you look on, instead of clicking on the transcript on the menu, you check under test scores and placement. And your CAT score should appear.
Is that how we find them? Is that how we get the scores?
No, you should get notified by EastCon right away.
No, we get like a pass, it just says pass.
Right, that's right. And it'll be recorded as CAT passed in Banner, because I get notified and then they get recorded in Banner. Okay? And the remedial reading is that's not for you. You do need to attach your ED 126s if you've got more than one, and a copy of your certificate. Many students do not enclose copies of their certificate, your teaching certificate, to their packets.
What's the ED 1?
ED 1, that's what's enclosed in your packet. That's the verification of teaching experience form. Now, turn to page 2 of the state application. You've all filled out page 1 of this application before. That's pretty easy. Page 2. And this stuff's all in the directions. Yes?
You have the initial education certificate.
That's the one. That's the form. You are getting an initial certificate. You're not getting an added endorsement. You're getting an initial advanced certificate. Okay? Now, the only part on page 2 that you are filling out, and it's in the direction sheet, you are putting your name, your social security number, and you're filling out 1C and/or 1D. That's it. Now, 1C and 1D. Now, if you're doing your internship, if you're doing 167 and 687 and 688 in the same school, your internship, you're doing them in the same site, you can account for the dates all on 1C. If you end up doing them in 2 sites, then you can do 1C and 1D. Split the sites. It does, or you can do one semester, 687 in C and 688 in D. It doesn't matter to me. But What's important is that you put the site and the district or the town where it says school and district, and where it says grade and subject. The subject is building administrator. Okay? The grade, you're either in a K-8 school, you're in a 7-9 school, you're in a 9-12 school. What are the grades? What is the grade parameter of the building you are serving in your internship? We do not want your student teaching experience. Trust me, 1 out of 5 puts their student teaching information on this form. Okay? We are looking for your internship information. And nobody does an internship in 1 grade. You don't do 5th grade. When you're working in a building administrator internship, you're working in a parameter. What are the grades in the parameter of the school you're working in? That's what we need. This is the most common error as to why these forms get sent back. Okay? They put their student teaching, or they put their classroom assignment grade in there. That's what they do. Okay, and the dates. You're usually either working, you start in August, and you finish in May. You cannot finish in June. You have to finish in May because that's when the semester ends. We go on the Southern's schedule, not your school district schedule. Okay? Well, you just need, you either start, and I don't need the full date, you just need the month and the year. So you either start in August and end in May, or you start in January and end in December. However your configuration of your 687 and 688 is, however you configured them when you registered for them. Okay? Question? The only part that has to be completed in blue pen is page 1 of the state application. If you look at the top of the green sheet, application must be completed, page 1 of the ED 170A in blue ink. Any other questions? Yes?
If we just applied for a new certificate
Yes.
within the last 2 months, do we still need to do the 126 forms?
Yes.
Could you repeat the question for the tape?
Yes, the question was, if they just submitted an application before, do they still need to fill out the 126? Yes, because they want all recent signatures. Yes, from the school districts. Now, if you look at on the back page of the directions, look at the student where the application process, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. What you're going to do is you're going to fill out the checklist of the state application. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to turn this into your Ed Leadership office with the packet of information they provide you with their Ed Leadership packet. Then it's going to come to my office. What you're going to do is you're going to order official transcripts from all colleges attended, representing all college coursework completed. Now, look at the caveat there. The caveat says that if you've submitted transcripts to the state after February of 2009, you do not need to submit those transcripts again unless you have taken courses to update that transcript.
I'm not quite sure what page you're on.
The second page of the direction sheet.
Okay, the back side.
Yes, the back side. Yes. Okay? So if you submitted a transcript from the University of Connecticut in January of 2010, and you have not taken a course from there since, you do not need to resubmit that transcript. But if you submitted a University of Connecticut transcript in 2007, the state of Connecticut doesn't have that transcript anymore. They did not keep them. So you need to resubmit it. Okay? Question?
Yeah, if I'm going to put an additional endorsement on here, do I have to do the same thing? I'll need to provide the transcripts.
The additional endorsement? Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, he has to be supplying for an additional endorsement, does he need to add the transcripts? Yes, you should submit all transcripts, regardless of whether you're applying for an added endorsement or not. If you're applying for whenever you apply for a certification, you submit all transcripts from all colleges attended. If you have anything that you submitted prior to February of 2009. If you've submitted them since February of 2009, the state already has them on file. Unless, now like your Southern transcript. Your Southern transcript, you're taking courses now. If you submitted Southern transcripts in 2012 and now you're taking courses now, you obviously need to submit a new one because you've got new courses on it. Okay? Question?
I'm probably redundant. When you're saying all transcripts, if you went to undergraduate school like in the 90s,
Yes,
you
all.
submit absolutely everything.
All. All means all. Simple definition of all. Unless you submitted it after 2009. Yes.
Can we check that out by going somewhere?
Well, you should know that.
No, tell you the truth.
When did you update your last certificate and submit transcripts?
You're asking the wrong person. Honestly, don't pretend.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. If you have any doubts, submit them all. Because what will happen is the state will delay your application and they'll send you a letter and tell you we need transcripts A, B, and C. That's what they'll do.
If you have degrees which are not education-based, do you submit all transcripts or maybe education-based?
All transcripts.
Can you just repeat the question, ma'am?
Yeah, she wanted to know if she had transcripts that didn't have education courses on them. Do we need to submit those? Yeah. Submit transcripts, all college coursework. That's what the state wants. Yeah. That's what you had to do when you got your initial certificate. So the question was, the issue is did you get your initial certificate and submit all of those transcripts before or after 2009?
We've got a
That's
question
the
over
question.
here.
Okay.
So do we have to wait to submit all the paperwork to you until after we have a formal transcript available at Southern for a leadership?
Once all of your grades of your 21 hours are posted, yes. But not to submit it to me, no, to submit it to the state.
So we can submit this earlier to you?
Yes, if you pass the CAT and the only class you've got left is your 688, then you can go ahead and submit everything, and I won't process it until grades are posted.
What if the only classes we have left are 688 and our seminar? Can we still submit?
The seminar is not part of your 21 hours. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. Any other general questions?
I just have a general question about the CAT exam.
Okay.
Is the office going to close for the most part?
Is what?
The office CAT exam?
Oh, I don't know. Is the CAT is, yeah.
Dr. McAndrews will, Dr. Jones. We want to thank Ken very much for his overview, and we'll make him available outside of the table for very specific questions you might have.
Yeah, I'll stick around.
Okay, so, Dr. Jones will give a general overview, answer specific questions, and answer everything else.
So get out your pen and write copiously. The question with respect to the CAT exam, okay, EastCon, the question was, for those of you that didn't hear, that the August, the June test is filled, right?
No, well, there's an August test, but for completely or not.
The last two sessions of the CAT, I've been told were filled. I know the one, no. The March test was filled in advance of the testing date, and students were told they could not even be on a wait list because they had such an excess of people applying. I've been hearing from students, I don't have this as confirmed, but I've been hearing from students that the June test is also filled. Students are emailing me saying, well, do you think they'll open the August test historically? The August test historically has been for those who are awaiting appointment. In other words, you've been offered a job and you need that. Doesn't mean you can't take the August test, but in the past, there's been an added fee to take the August test. Okay? Students are emailing me now and asking me, because June is filled, will there be additional test dates, additional test locations, etc.? We have no control over that at all. That's totally administered by the state through EastCon. So the only thing you can do if you're looking for up-to-date information is go to the EastCon website and see what they say about the availability of places for registration for test dates. We have no control over that, and frankly, they don't want to hear from 8 institutions. There are 8 institutions in Connecticut. They don't want to hear from people from 8 institutions calling them up saying, will you add this, or will you add that, or we can't get it, or we can't get it. To the degree that we can be helpful, and at least being aware of what your concerns are and answering, I'm more than happy to do that. But you're going to have to sort of go with the flow until this sorts itself out. I suspect that the larger influx of people taking the test has a lot to do with, as you know, the passing scores were adjusted, changed this time. You have to score passes on all 4 modules. Well, prior to this year, you could get a conditional on 1 module. There is a window for those people who took the CAT earlier to maintain that 1 conditional, but they have a limited amount of time to satisfy their requirement. So obviously, those people are rushing to take the CAT in that limited window of opportunity to pass under the old standard. So I suspect that also in the fall, in the October test, there'll be a large influx of people wanting to take the CAT. So as soon as you're ready to take the CAT exam, you might want to consider registering for either August or the fall test, lest you cut yourself out by that particular administration being filled sooner. The one thing I want to emphasize for you, and please listen to me, no one under any circumstances should be taking all 4 modules of the CAT. I don't care what anybody has told you. I don't care if your best friend told you it was a piece of cake. You are putting yourself at risk by taking all 4 modules. The state has never recommended it, and we have never recommended it. So please, let me underscore that. Do not consider taking all 4 modules. You don't need to take all 4 modules at one time. It's a 7.5-hour exam, all 4 modules, longhand written. So think about how you're going to feel after that. So I encourage you to really work with us on that. If you're toying with the idea, then call one of the professors in the department, or feel free to call me or email me, and I'm more than happy to discuss it with you. Okay? I can't prevent you from doing it, but I'm certainly going to do my best to discourage you from doing it, because I think you're putting yourself at risk. Yes? I think it's open now.
Oh, it is?
I think so.
I was just on last week.
Well, I would check. I mean, you have to check.
What was the question?
I'm sorry. The question was, when do they typically open, or do I know when they will typically open registration for the August administration? I said you have to go to the website. I was under the impression it was opened already, but I haven't. They don't advise us on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis as to how they're dealing with the issues that you're facing right now, like an administration is filled out well in advance of the date.
I just recently registered. When you register, only the June date is available. August is not available at all as a selection, as an option.
But you've got to check periodically, because if they make an adjustment, they're not going to notify us to notify you.
I just need to say, it puts us at a disadvantage, because I've applied for 2 so far on waiting lists, and I need to get this degree, obviously, as soon as possible, because, well, I've heard from the last speaker that we only have a year before and all this stuff, but all of these things are full, and, so there's an urgency for us to sign up and take them. So my question is, if we fail, let's say I take all 4 modules, and I don't pass 1, 2, or 3, Is there a number of times I'm allowed to not pass
No.
before the state says, all right, you're done?
The state has always said you can take it. I'm sorry. The question was, is there a limitation on the number of times you can take the CAT exam? Okay, the answer to that question is no. The state has said you can take it as many times as you need to take it.
But my bank account's big.
Yeah, subject to your bank account. Yes?
Do credit scores ever expire?
Do your pass scores ever expire? No.
Should we move on to the portfolio?
Okay? I'll hang back and answer any individual questions you may have at the end of the session so we can get people out of here. Okay.
Peter, stand back.
Yeah.
I can't see you, I'm sorry. We're on camera mode.
So what you see on the screen here is the list of requirements or the information related to the submission of your portfolio. Remember, you're going to go on TK20 and upload certain documents, but you also must submit a portfolio to your supervising professor. What you're seeing there are the TK20 documents.
Is this online?
I will be giving it to your supervisors and
Okay.
What we're screening down to now is the items that will go in your portfolio. Now, let me clarify for you that your supervising professor for the internship will inform you as to whether they want those documents submitted to them electronically, not on TK20, electronically separate from TK20, or whether they would prefer to receive it in a traditional hardbound 3-ring binder. Okay, and these are the documents that you see on the screen listed for you that would be included in the portfolio. Okay, let people just screen down them, and then if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can see it's a...
And they're in the handbook.
It's pretty much they're in the handbook, and it's pretty much a summary of the remaining items tied to your experience over both semesters of the internship. Yes?
Sorry. Since we're submitting the portfolio, and TK20 is in the state of Connecticut requirement, and the material we're submitting through that is in our portfolio, is there a reasoning behind Southern's rationale for using TK20 since it's not used in any other class?
For assessment purposes, NK assessment.
For just Southern, then?
That's correct. It has nothing to do...
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, is TK20 part of the state process or certification process or not? The answer is no. TK20 is Southern's assessment vehicle for our own certification purposes with NK. Okay, that's the way we warehouse our data on students because they want access to that when they conduct a site visit.
And one other point, which is that it is used for more than one course than 680.
Should be.
It is.
Well, we can talk about that after. Yes?
When you were scrolling down the page, I noticed it said 9 field reflection, but then you also listed out-of-level experience. Isn't that one of the 9?
Out of level is one of the 9, yes. It's one of your 9 reflection pieces.
Okay.
Okay, the question was, little discrepancy, it says that in the portfolio you have your 9 field reflections, and then it said out of level as an additional one. No, the out of level reflection piece is one of the 9 that will be in your portfolio. Yes?
When our professors grade our portfolios, are they going to grade the one in TK20, or are they going to grade the actual binder, or both? Because, for example, something for student work, if it doesn't scan right and it's not on TK20, is the binder one the one that's going to actually be graded?
Okay, Dr. Adler will answer that. The question was, how will the portfolio be graded and what will become part of your final grade for 688? Dr. Adler is going to address that in a couple of moments. Okay?
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay, thank you.
So that question, which was, what are the supervisors actually grading? So it's a little confusing at the moment because we are in the middle of a transition from hard copy to electronic. And in this process, there's also the portfolio that you're creating. And then there is what is uploaded to TK20. So let's just put a big, you put a pin in it? Let's put a pin in TK20. Put brackets around it. Just ignore TK20 for a moment. Really what you're responsible for in your internship is for these activities, the reflections, the final reflection, the community service, the 200 hours, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of that goes into a final portfolio. At the moment, you and your supervisors should negotiate as to whether or not that portfolio is going to be completely electronic, because some professors at the moment are using Blackboard 9, for example, and may be asking you to put that up in Blackboard 9. You may have other ways of creating a really cool electronic portfolio that you yourself use and you'd like to submit. Or negotiating with your supervisor as to whether or not that's going to be a paper portfolio, because at the moment some people prefer paper in terms of the whole portfolio. So that's something that you want to talk to with your individual supervisors, and you should advocate for what it is that you would like to do with them. So does that make sense? Any questions about that? That for the portfolio? I saw a sort of question. Ask the question. Somebody else has a question.
No.
Okay, sure. Okay, Lamar.
So basically what you're saying, for example, if you are my supervisor and if you use Blackboard 9, you may not be required to put together a bunch of paper environments.
That's right. The question was, so if I'm her supervisor and I use Blackboard 9, I may not require them to put together a paper binder, and that's true. Your individual supervisor may not require you to do that. You may say, though, to that supervisor, there are aspects of mine that I really do need to submit to you in paper, and so you need to negotiate that with that individual. But yes?
Is there a rubric in the handbook for how the portfolio is written?
There is not, so that's a really great question, because we are not really grading the actual portfolio per se. What we're doing, the rubric is about their own self-reflection of this. So what we're grading when we have graded you throughout the semesters, right, is that we've been looking at your pieces, and so you've been getting our feedback and you've been connecting with us, over time. In terms of, so what you really need to do is you need to complete the portfolio, you need to complete the requirements, and then there is this final rubric that you yourself engage with, and we're looking over the whole process to say, yes, this student has done this and has done this well. Okay? Other questions about that? So that's the portfolio. Now let me talk a little bit about evidence. Evidence for your PIP. All right? So you've been doing PIPs, and you're supposed to supply evidence. And so the evidence for your PIP is, I don't know. It's whatever the evidence is for your PIP. Now, some of this may be student records. Some of it may be emails and may be documents that you've created. It may be reports. It may be videos. It may be whatever it is that you have done as part of your PIP. And everybody's done something differently. The evidence needs to be submitted somehow, because that really is what supports the PIP. And that's what makes your PIP robust on one level, us being able to see that evidence. And you want to think about it like if somebody were just completely new. If you were on a job interview and you said, I want to show you my PIP and what I did and how excellent it was, that you would submit your PIP and you would submit this evidence, and they would look at it and they would say, wow. Well, some of that evidence is uploadable and scannable, etc. Some of that evidence may not be uploadable and scannable. So you want to think about how you'll submit that and talk with your supervisor about it. The other thing is that if there are student records or anything that has identifiable information, you really need to be thinking about that and be very clear about it so that you will redact names and wipe them out or black them out or however you're going to do it. Let me just ask, so does that make sense? Okay, yes, question?
Do you have something that you did for your PIP that wasn't on the original PIP plan? For instance, I wrote a grant recently for what I'm doing for my PIP, but I didn't know I was doing it. So it's something added. So can I add that to it even though it's not on my original TIP plan?
Yes, so the question was, if I did something that was not on my original sort of PIP agreement, can I add that and include it as part of what I did? And the answer is yes, you can and you should indicate, it wasn't part of my PIP, but it was something above and beyond, and so I think that shows, a level. Other questions? Okay, just a little bit about community service. Well, let me go back to the PIP itself. Because we're new at doing the PIP electronically, there are different ways that occurs. If you're doing the big binders, you can organize the binders in ways that you see fit. There's not a particular way to do it, but it should be organized. And it would be nice, it's nice to have tabs and, for it to look very good and professional. So now let's go back to TK20. First of all, there was a question earlier, do we need to upload our CAT stuff to TK20? That was your question? Okay, the answer is no. You do not need to upload CAT information to the TK20. The CAT information is information that you would get from EastCon when you pass, and you have that information goes to Ken?
Right.
Yeah?
It's also on your transcripts in Banner.
Okay, and so it is on your transcripts in Banner. All right, any questions about that? Yes?
For the document, like I already sent mine into the state, so I don't have the original from would you accept for yourself the copy of the transcript that says that we passed the CAP instead of the original document?
I think that's a question for Ken. So could you...
Not to the state. Say you've already sent that in and now you're going to pass in your portfolio, which also requires...
Oh, the document of the CAT, yeah, in the portfolio, yes, we've been accepting copies of your CAT pass, yes. So the question was, do we need in the portfolio an original of the passing of the CAT? And the answer is no, that we will accept copies, and also you can go back to the site and download something that says you passed the CAT.
And I've just been corrected, it's in the placement section.
Test scores and placement in Banner. It should not appear on the transcript.
Okay, so your CAT scores are in the testing and placement section in Banner, not in the transcript. Question?
And so as long as it says CAT there, it means you've passed?
Yeah, it'll show CAT with a pass, and I believe it shows the date.
Okay,
Or
so
how about a number after it?
Well, the numbers, yes, one means pass.
Okay, good.
Right, so the question was, and so it says, will it say CAT and the number or pass and the date? And the answer is yes, it will say those things.
Yeah, one means pass.
One means pass.
And also continue to submit the passing scores to your supervisor so that they can take off the I+.
So Dr. McDaniel said, make sure that when you pass, as you are progressively passing those aspects of the CAT, make sure your supervisor knows and has evidence of that so that your supervisor is able to remove that indefinite incomplete I+ status when you're done.
The tech portfolio and the special ed requirement are separate from the
Yes. Question, are the tech portfolio, the educational technology portfolio, and the special ed requirements separate from TK20 and this internship? And the answer is yes, those are two separate issues. Yes?
Back to the CAT again, are all supervisors working over the summer? So if we're taking the June 7th CAT and that's our final two, that over the summer the grade will be adjusted, or do we have to wait till August or September?
That's a great question. Here, Dr. Bedota will answer.
That's the reason why we want the internship, the form, the field report, I think it's Appendix K, field report that has the name of your supervising professor. That comes with the portfolio. The supervising professor will make sure that your grade is noted there pending receipt of the confirmation that you passed the CAT. So again, you submit your portfolio with the internship field report. When you have your CAT scores after that date, they're forwarded to the office, and we will then be able to issue the grade regardless of whether your supervising professor is here on campus or in Europe at that point or wherever. Yes?
We have a question for Ken. On the green form where it says academic advisor, is that the academic advisor advisor we got when we originally got our acceptance from Southern, and like, I don't know who my,
The internship advisor.
or is it my internship advisor?
Your ed leadership advisor, I don't care who it is.
We did get, the thing is we got an academic advisor when we entered the program, but I don't know if I ever actually had to utilize my advisor, but I have my internship supervisor who obviously I have.
The question was on the green sheet where it says advisor, whose name goes there? The answer is place the name of your supervising professor for the internship. Make it very simple.
On almost all of the forms, his name appears on the forms.
Don't do that though.
By default.
Oh, okay. So, thank you.
Okay? You got another question?
Just a quick question regarding this summary of the cumulative portfolio. In the handbook, it identifies those three, initial statements that you have here, but I'm not seeing the second portion with all of the kind of guiding questions.
It's on the handbook.
Or will you email that to us? I don't see it in the syllabus or in the handbook.
Yeah, there will be, because we're transitioning here, that guidance will be sent to you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Was that the same question? Wait, I need to repeat the question. The question was, in terms of the cumulative portfolio reflection, will you get additional guidance? And the answer is yes, we will be sending that to you. I'm sorry.
My question is about the tech portfolio and the STED class. Can we apply for certification around that, or do we have to complete those before we?
They must be completed.
So the question is, can you apply for certification before you've completed the tech portfolio or you've got your special education certification requirement taken care of? And the answer is no, you need to complete those before you apply for certification. Okay, so TK20. Okay, so TK20, about that. So TK20, in terms of that upload, the school uses TK20, as we said, for our accreditation purposes. And what we have is throughout the program, there are certain courses where you are asked to upload either work or to do a kind of a disposition document or whatever. And so this is the culminating time that we ask you to upload work to TK20. So those pieces are just the pieces that we ask you to upload. The TK20 part has nothing to do with the actual internship. It has to do with, but it does have to do is we need you to do it before you can sort of graduate and progress. So if you don't do it, we need you to do it. Does that make sense? Okay. I mean, we need you to upload the materials that we ask you to upload to TK20, kind of end of story. So let me repeat the question. So the question is, and hold on, I hear some talking, so if we could just hold on for just a couple more minutes. So the last question here is, she said, my professor probably wants me to submit an actual binder. But so what it means then, in order for me to upload to TK20, I'm going to have to kind of replicate certain parts of my work. Is that correct? And the answer is yes. That really, you will submit your binder, but you will also submit those pieces that we need for TK20 also in TK20.
And it's not very difficult because you mainly have it as a Word document. And this is because different professors have different requirements for submission, or they want it delivered a certain way. It used to be in back in...
Yes, come right up here.
Thank you. It used to be that it was all hard copy in binders, but as we move on in the 21st century of digital technology and all of that, we are making the transition. So it might require you to just make an extra copy if your professor wants a hard copy. Concerning the portfolios, once you receive the grade, make arrangements to pick up your portfolio if it's a hard copy, because we don't have room in the office, and we tend to get rid of them after a period of time. So don't leave them there and then come back a year later and ask for it. It won't be there. So do pick them up and as soon as you can. Okay, and
Let them know. Are there
well, yeah, okay. Yes.
I have a question about the green form. We have the wrong one, so how will we get the right one?
Okay.
So the question was, where will we get the new appropriate green form, and Ken is looking for that. I saw a question here.
Ken also said we have to fill out an educational leadership packet. Where is that?
I'm showing you, if you follow along right here.
Okay.
So the question is, where is this educational leadership packet, and Ken is also showing that.
Here's the leadership website. If you go to procedures and forms,
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
under procedures and forms, here's they're all right here. Everything's there. Now, I'm going to advanced certification checklist. Let's hope this has got the right date on it. It does. Okay, so you can download it from this site, the correct form. Okay? I knew I gave this to Mary. Okay, so the other, I think your forms are on this site too, I think here.
Procedures.
Right here? Right here. Okay. This is the package that's, the departments. Keep in mind,
We're talking about the EDL, the leadership piece of your submission. Remember, the first part of the presentation, we talked about what Ken is looking for. This is the rest of the packet. So on our website, you'll see a list of the other documents. All of those materials, those plus the materials that we discussed earlier tonight, come to the office as a completed packet. And like Ken said, when they're reviewed by the secretary of the office, if there's a missing document, the packet is returned to you.
No, but I want the title.
Yes?
I talked to you earlier, but I'm just curious, what does it mean verification of special education? Because I'm thinking maybe I do, but I don't understand it, I don't understand it especially.
There's a course requirement, or if you are currently certified as a special educator, you need every person applying for every person applying for the certification must show that they've either completed one of the required State Department of Ed courses in special ed, or they hold a certification from the state of Connecticut in special education, where the coursework has been satisfied.
Also, people hold the certification in special education.
That's what we're talking about. But there are many students who have never had special education, and therefore they must meet that requirement. Sandy?
So I was looking through the paperwork, and it said to attach the $200 check. But down on that paper, it said, don't submit any checks. We'll submit the forms to you. You'll submit the forms to you. You'll send it back to us, and then we have to check them. Okay, so that was my first question.
Wait, no, that's important. Can you?
The question was, when does the check get attached? The check and sealed or official transcripts are attached to your green sheet packet when you receive them back from Mr. Bungart's office. At that point, you send that material to the state, along with the check and along with official transcripts. When you're first collecting your packet, unofficial transcripts are satisfactory for processing it through the university. Okay? Yes?
Can Is it possible to email everybody that document that was up there with the PIP requirements and the TK20 requirements and the final reflection?
Absolutely. I will be sending it to your supervisors and then we'll move forward. I'll do that, I'll go back to my office.
Thank you.
Question?
I handed in my debt portfolio a month or two ago. What happened?
The portfolios are being scored by Dr. Magno now, so I would suggest you might want to email her and just check in. However, I will tell you, the procedure has been that when the portfolios are reviewed, the secretary will send an email to the student saying your portfolio review has been completed. That email goes to your Southern email address, so if you are not accessing it, you need to access it. If you are using your Southern email and you haven't received a response saying it's been scored, then you might send an email to Dr. Magno and just inquire what the status of it is at this point.
Thank you.
Yes?
Does the check portfolio get recorded on the transcript?
No. You'll see on the list of documents for the department's piece of the certification packet, you will submit the signed rubric from the technology portfolio. That's the evidence that you've completed that requirement.
If you delay your technology rubric to the last thing you do, and that's the last thing that's done after your CAT score and after your program is completed, the date that that is signed off on, that becomes your program completion date. There are three important dates. The end of the semester in which you completed your program, your coursework, your CAT exam, the date you pass your CAT test, and the date you pass the technology requirement. Those are the three dates that determine when you've completed your program. The latest date is the date that becomes your program completion date. Some of you would say you complete your program on May 17th. That's when you finish your 688. If you've taken the CAT prior to and passed the CAT prior to that date, and you wait until September of 14 to turn in and get scored on your technology rubric, September is when you finished your program. Okay? Is that clear? If you wait a year to sign off on your technology report, on your technology rubric, and you've waited a year to get that done, that impacts on program changes. It's the same effect as the CAT exam, if you wait a year to pass the CAT. Okay? It delays your program completion in the eyes of the state. Don't delay the technology rubric. It's treated the same as the CAT exam.
Yes?
If you've taken your SET class here and also taken the computer class here, then you just highlight them on your transcript.
They will be you'll submit those transcripts.
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, if you've taken your special ed course here, the required special ed course, then you submit that transcript reflecting that when the course was taken and that the course is one of the approved courses. Okay. Other questions? Yes?
How long does it typically take to score the technology portfolio? Because I'd like to apply for certification this summer, so I don't know what would be the deadline.
Well, I can tell you when I was doing it.
Repeat the question, sorry.
How long does it take to score the tech portfolio? Well, the problem is when they come in and how many of them come in at one time. The summer is usually the worst time, and they come in piles. I remember last summer I scored well in excess of 100 portfolios. So if you get me when I was doing it, if you get me when I'm on vacation, nothing gets moved during those 2 weeks. Okay? However, they process through pretty clearly, and by the end of the summer, everything has been clear. If you bring it in April or May, it's likely to get scored much sooner than if you bring it in July, when there's a larger backlog, and we score them on the basis of when they're received. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I need to, yes?
When we submit that technology
You bring it to the office, you log it in. If you're giving it to the secretary or the student worker in the office, there's a log when you sign in the tech portfolio. Just gives you proof that you brought it to us and gives us a tracking place for it if we need to look for it. I just want to clarify one thing for you before you leave, because I want to save you some time in the long run. When you're ready to submit your application for certification, there's two pieces to the packet. There's the packet that Mr. Bunger went over with you, and then there's the materials in the EDL packet. You don't submit the packet until everything is in order. If you come to the office with your packet and you're missing some of those documents, Lisa's going to say, it's not complete, you have to go get X, Y, or Z. When we process the packet and it's reviewed in our office, hopefully everything is in order and we send it forward to Mr. Bunger. Okay, so if you're bringing us bits and pieces, we're not going to take it. With 600 students in the program, it's a nightmare to try and track all of that stuff, and who remembers what you brought or what you didn't bring. So you bring the completed packet for certification when it is complete, not before. Okay? Save you legwork and save you trouble later on. Sandy?
Just simple question. You know, we were required to be here. How do we prove that we were here? I mean, is there a sign-in sheet? Is there anything?
Well, I can make one.
I mean, not for nothing.
You know, this information is for your benefit, so if you're not here, we'll know right away, you missed a lot. Okay, I'll line back if you have other questions. Thank you very much. Dr. Davis?
A couple of announcements, just a minute. First of all, I want to thank Ken, Peter, Ann, who's been passing everything around. Michael, where's Michael? All of my colleagues for coming. Dr. Davis, I'm sorry. Dr. Erica would like to see her interns for a few minutes in the back of the room. And who attended the February 28th workshop, who did not receive their certificate from CAP, I have them here. I also have a couple of Dr. Flyers from earlier, Dr. Levis's, so if you attended the workshop and you don't have your certificate, I have it here, so please stop. And thank you very much for coming, and I hope you found the information.
All right, excellent. I want to make sure my students stay.